You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Talk to many folks at Texas Southern University in Houston. They will tell you that Dr. Austin Lane has done an amazing job since he took over as president of the nation's second largest HBCU in 2016. Yet late Friday, the Board of Regents voted to actually put him on administrative leave and gave no reason for doing so. All kind of drama taking place in Houston. The board took the action. He wasn't even in the room. Not only that, wasn't even allowed to address the board to even understand why they were taking the action. Folks in Houston are shocked and stunned trying to figure out what's going on. This is the headline of the Texas Tribune. Texas Southern University's president placed on administrative leave without explanation. Now, the president, I've talked to him. He said he has done absolutely nothing wrong. If you read the Texas Tribune story, it states in here that the board said, quote, they were committed to ensuring all activities at the university are conducted in an ethical and transparent manner in accordance with the university's mission, vision, and values. Then say, well, they will have no further comment at the time. Now, we reached out to every single board member to try to reach them to explain what took place. We have not heard back via email or phone from any of the TSU board members. Yet in this particular story here by the Texas Tribune, they quote two board members who are highly critical of what took place. One of them is Regent Ron Price, recently who joined the board, former board member of the Dallas Independent School District. This is what he said, quote, in the United States of America, everybody has the right to face their accusers. That was not, he said the board didn't even bother to interview or talk to Lane before they took the action. Quote, that was not classy. It was unbecoming of the board. That's not something any governmental body in Texas, university board, school district board, any public board should ever do to their CEO. Quote, there was no desire from the majority of the board to do the right thing. Now, Derek Mitchell, he was the only regent who voted not to put on administrative leave. There are 9 votes, 7 did so. Mitchell did not voted against. Ron Price actually abstained. Mitchell said that there are people who are out to undermine Lane as president. Quote, I think this has been that the process was flawed, and I think that what we as a board may be doing is an injustice. Now, of course, Chief Financial Officer Kenneth Hewitt, he is now the interim president of TSU. They've got more than 9,700 students. 80% of them are African American. Now, here's what's interesting about this here. In November, the TSU board issued a statement announcing this review dealing with alleging so-called improprieties when it comes to an admissions process. Now, what I've been told is that there was someone who worked in the law school at TSU who told someone not to place a certain item on their application. Once the dean of the law school found out what happened, the dean recommended that employee be fired. The dean reached out to President Lane. Lane agreed. The employee was terminated. My understanding, according to my sources, is that the Board of Regents was upset because they weren't told about this action. Isn't that the point of the president doing his job? What's going on? Now, one of the other issues that has been raised is that a TSU employee actually filed a complaint last year, a year ago, alleging the board overstepped their bounds in terms of the job of the president. That another complaint was also raised. Guess what happened? When they placed the president last week on administrative leave, they also fired the employee who made the complaint against the board of directors. Joining us right now is Marcus Davis. He is the owner of the famous Houston restaurant, The Breakfast Club. He was on the committee, the search committee, that hired Dr. Austin Lane as president. Marcus, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing as best as I can right now, Roland. Thanks for having me on, and thank you for covering this situation in our community.
So you're a graduate of TSU, correct?
I'm a graduate of TSU, Texas Southern University, class of '96. I served on the search committee for the last 2 presidents, President John Rudley and for President Austin Lane. I also served as the past president of the National Alumni Association. So, and I'm a diehard Tiger fan.
So what do you make of what's going on here? The board taking this action and not even telling TSU students, faculty, staff, alumni, the general public, why you would put the president on administrative leave.
You know, you ask what would you make of it? I don't know what to make of it, Roland. This idea of secrecy is befuddling to me. I don't understand how we can have this idea of we don't share information, this cloud of secrecy, and no one else deserves to know. The last I checked, the university belongs to the students. The university belongs to the alum, the faculty and staff. The university belongs to the committee. It does not belong to these board members that can decide to do what they will at their pleasure with the university. Whatever decision they come to is the decision they come to. The idea that no one is worthy of information, no one is worthy of any knowledge is quite strange. I tell you what the biggest irony of it is. As you mentioned in your opening, the accusation regarding the law school, they accused the president of not being transparent with that situation when he handled it. Well, this appears to be less transparent than that situation. So how can you have a transparent situation that brings you to operate with another transparent situation?
Well, and that's really what's causing people to ask all these questions. And there are individuals who are sending out information where they are they're saying that, look, I mean, this is the great job that he has done. In fact, I received a graphic that they actually sent out that spoke to that, where they talked about how the Tiger Gala has raised in the last 3 years some $2.5 million. TSU has had a number of clean audits. What people don't understand, in the past there have been issues financially with TSU when it comes to resources. To your point, the previous president cleaned a lot of that up. Lane then comes in. Of course, there was a Democratic debate that took place on the campus of TSU as well, giving TSU national attention. And so it goes on and on and on. But one of the things that I've heard from critics, they say, is that part of the problem is that unlike other boards in Texas, only 3 of the individuals on the TSU board actually graduated from TSU. So you have individuals who don't even have any relationship with the university making these decisions. Keep in mind, in Texas, the governor appoints these. The Republican governor appoints the majority of the people on the board here. And so what is strange here is, again, them saying that there were all these questions when it comes to the admissions process. But my understanding, it was only one example, and the dean, law school dean, and the president fired the employee.
So here's the thing. The board has a role of a fiduciary responsibility and the upholding of the mission and the policies of the university. The board is not responsible for the day-to-day operation of the university. As a matter of fact, it is illegal for the board to be involved in day-to-day operations. And that's where it has to be understood that the line has to be drawn. If a person is in a position to do their job as the president, the hiring and firing of his staff, the hiring and firing of faculty and staff, as well as other positions in the university, they have to have room to do that, and they have to have the confidence that they are competent enough to do that, which we believed President Lane had when we brought him in to do the job. So you have to allow people to do their job, to do their work. I am a TSU first person. I believe the university comes first. The students that are there, they come first. They're a top priority. And if there's something that's done by anybody that affects those students that are there in search of a higher education, then I am opposed to that. And I'm in agreement with doing something different. But until we find that be the case, then we need to allow those students the opportunity to have their president reinstated until the board comes forth with the truth of what they have found.
Well, and not only that, what I don't understand is, how do you go all the way to putting the president on administrative leave? So they announced that they're having this investigation being done, but you give the impression that the president has literally done something wrong, has stolen money, somehow is letting people into the door who shouldn't be candidates there. That's crazy. That's what the impression that this leaves.
And here's a discussion I've had with some of our colleagues. You know, if it was so detrimental that it required this immediate action, then why was termination not on the table? If it was not detrimental to the university, and termination wasn't warranted, then why the suspension, why the leave of absence. Why not allow him to stay in place until you finish your investigation? Those are the questions that we have that we can't get an answer to because everything is cloaked in this veil of secrecy. And here's the other thing. Who controls this veil of secrecy? Who is it? What is the policy on the board that determines that we can't share with the general public, or we can't share with the president of the Alumni Association, or we can't share with members of the community what's taking place, and who's authorized to change that? Because, you got to talk about this transparency or lack thereof, especially since this is a board that decided the president needed to be more transparent. And here we are again in a situation where we're lacking transparency.
And of course, folks, the video you're seeing is I was a commencement speaker at TSU a couple of years ago. And so that's...
so was I. You did okay. I did a little better, but, we appreciate you.
Now, let's be real clear, okay? Y'all have great breakfast at the Breakfast Club, but when it comes to giving commencement speeches, you need to go ahead and sit on down to talk about food. You don't want me to have to run your speech and run my speech.
Well, hey, maybe we should.
Okay. All I know, I also know on between one of us, somebody who brought in gospel singer Brian Courtney Wilson to sing for the graduates. What you do?
Oh,
feed them chicken and waffles? Yeah, okay, all right, I got you. I thought so. I thought so. So we don't want to talk about who can actually flex. I'm just saying, you might want to leave that alone.
Ask Brian who taught him how to hit those.
Yeah, all right. You might want to leave that alone. I'm just saying, you might want to leave that alone. We don't want to get into a battle of flexing. You ain't gonna win that one. You ain't gonna win that one precisely.
Look, I'll see you in the kitchen over some eggs. We'll handle that out.
Yeah, that's right. Right. Stay in your damn lane. Stay in your lane. All right, Marcus Davis, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And again, Roland, sincerely, I thank you for covering this. It is important to those thousands of students that are at 3100 Cleburne. It's important to the community that surrounds Texas Southern. It's important to the alumni community. So I appreciate you.
All right, not a problem. Thanks a lot, guy. All right, folks, I'm going to read for y'all. This was a statement that the university released back in November. Okay. The Texas Southern University Board of Regents, the board's council, and its internal auditor proactively contacted local authorities after confirming certain improprieties related to the admissions process within the university based on an internal investigation. The preliminary findings of the investigation were confirmed, presented, and delivered by the university to local authorities. The person involved with these improprieties is no longer employed by the university. The investigation is ongoing, and the university is fully cooperating with investigators. As part of the board's oversight responsibility, it has launched a full and comprehensive review of the university's admissions. This includes enrollment, financial aid, scholarship protocols, and standards for all university colleges. This process is being conducted using independent auditors, attorneys, and outside experts. The university's academic integrity, trust of students, faculty, alumni, and the public at large are of utmost importance. The board is committed to ensuring all activities at the university are conducted in an ethical and transparent manner in accordance with the university's vision, values, and values. The university will have no further comment until the investigative process is complete. Now, here's the problem with that. The last line says they will have no further comment until the investigative process is complete. Yet 2 months later, the TSU Board of Regents puts the president on administrative leave. Here are the unanswered questions. 1, is this investigation complete? 2, if the investigation is complete, why have they not made it public? Now, as somebody who has covered these stories, and let me explain to all of you, I was the managing editor of the Houston Defender when they fired their president, Dr. James Douglas, and then hired Dr. Priscilla Slade. I covered the story when she went through financial issues and was forced out as president of TSU. TSU also has a history of Board of Regents actually meddling in the affairs of the university, causing drama between the president, faculty, staff, and students. Now, as I read this here, this is what I don't quite understand. They say certain improprieties related to the admissions process with the university. Now, first of all, I've been told that that was something that dealt with at the law school. Law school. One person sends an email. This person in law school responds inappropriately. Dean says, fire the person. President agrees, person gets terminated, issue fixed. Now, let's now go to this. So remember, let me just read it. Henry, go to my iPad. Let me blow it up. Confirming certain improprieties related to the admissions process within a university. Now, let's go down further. So, if it dealt with just improprieties in the admissions process, why is the board conducting an overall review that includes enrollment, financial aid, scholarship protocols, and standards for all university colleges? Explain that. Now, it says the process is being conducted using independent auditors. Here's the deal. The Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board oversees all universities in the state. So the question is, if it requires this comprehensive review, are the Board of Regents alleging that somehow there are fundamental problems in the university with their enrollment, financial aid, scholarships, and other standards? Now, supporters of TSU have put this graphic out. Folks, go ahead and show it. I want to show this because in the graphic, they have their ask in here. They have the contact information for all the Board of Regents, but they also detail in here what they say how the president, how he has been able to improve the university. Now, again, I'm going to sit here and explain this to you because somebody with the board needs to actually explain here. Now, they say in this document that graduation rate is up 7%. They say the university has had a record of clean admissions audits. So, if you've had previous audits of admissions, why all of a sudden do you have a new one? Also, as I said, the Maroon and Gray Gala raised $2.5 million over 3 years. They also, according to supporters of Lane, the TSU endowment has increased 25% in the past 5 years. Their homecoming game used to be played off campus. He brought it back for the first time in 12 years. Also, an additional $14 million in scholarships has been awarded university-wide. Now, here's the one that is interesting. According to the supporters of Lane, Moody's financial ratings upgraded from a negative outlook to stable to positive, and the university has had clean financial audits with no findings for the past 5 years. So what is going on here? I dare say it's the issue that many people say is plaguing too many HBCUs, where you have individuals who are on the board of directors who think they want to be able to run the university as opposed to not allowing the president to do his or her job. My panel is Erica Savage-Wilson, host Savage Politics Podcast. Also, Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice, EPA. Pam Keith, attorney and activist. Erica, I want to start with you. I know TSU well. My high school, Jackie's High School, is literally right across the street. I know many people there. I've covered the university there. And I can tell you, and I'm going to go ahead and say this, and I ain't got a problem. There are individuals who have historically been placed on the TSU board who would never pass muster on any of the other state universities. That's one. There are people, and I have no problem saying it, who are grossly unqualified to sit on the board of regents of Texas Southern University. And too often, governors in Texas, Democrat and Republican, have basically just used it as a dumping ground as opposed to having highly qualified individuals with strong, who are pillars of the community, again, who have the qualifications to be on the board. To have these individuals literally vote to put the president on administrative leave. And I was told that it was a 6-hour meeting. They have the vote, and instead of telling the president and other people that the meeting's been called back to order, they immediately come out of executive session, gavel the meeting in session, immediately pass this measure, put on administrative leave, and the meeting's over.
Wow, sounds like something that we're used to seeing around the Trump administration. So I'll say this, with everything that you just shared with the audience and shared with us around numbers that are in the positive, enrollment being up, there's money that's being brought to the school in the endowment form, in the form of endowments and scholarships and things of that nature. It makes me think of something that my late grandmother talked about around people not being used to having power. And so when they have keys, the way that they actually flex their power is through the dangling of those keys to say that you can't get in that door unless I give you the key. I may be the custodian, but the only way you can get through the door is with me unlocking it. And so I think that in reading that letter and them talking about there's a level of transparency that's happening through this process with the investigation that seems like it was initiated back in November. Where is the transparency? And now that you have the students that are now being brought into the fold that are saying, where is our president? Where is the leader of our campus? I think that that's something that is important and should be highlighted as well, because they are going to be a part of the army that really does bring this board into balance, into account.
Henry, go to my iPad, folks. These are the photos of the various board members. You have Chair Hassan Mack. Albert Myers is the vice chair. Pamela Medina is the second vice chair. You see Ron Price, secretary. You have Mark Carter, who is on here. Derek Mitchell. He was the only one who voted not to put him on administrative leave. Marilyn Rose, Wesley Terrell, Jay Zeidman, Ashley Johnson is a student regent. Now, let's deal with this. Mustafa, I'm going to talk about this regent here, Wesley Terrell, who was appointed by Republican Governor Greg Abbott to the board. And he is the assistant vice president and senior legal counsel with AT&T in the Dallas headquarters. Now, according to, pull up the graphic, folks, we had earlier, so what you will see is that they allege that an employee, according to this graphic that was made public, I think you have another part of the graphic, folks, and so you might want to pull that up. They allege that this board member actually was involved in overstepping his bounds. Now, I'm going to read from this graphic that's being sent around by supporters of Lane. It says that Wendell Williams, special assistant to the president and Title IX coordinator, filed a grievance complaint against board member Wesley Terrell for harassment. Lane was told to fire Williams and refused because he believed the claims were not substantiated, but were instead based on board members' personal vendettas that loomed against Lane. As a result, Lane was placed on administrative leave and Williams was fired the same day. Again, so if you have somebody who has filed a complaint against a board of regent, why is that board of regent not recusing himself from any actions against the president?
Exactly. I mean, they definitely should not be a part of the process. And again, it's about transparency and making sure that everybody is aware of what's going on. And it's also interesting also, you know, since I come from a grassroots background, I like to ground truth everything. So I called some of the students I know down there today, called a couple of the professors that I know. Everybody has been in favor of the president, saying that they felt that he has been doing not just a good job, but an exceptional job. If I had a financial planner who had the same amount of success as the president is, then, you know, I'd be in a good financial position. So, you know, sometimes it gets really curious, and there's usually somebody who's driving this, and maybe that's the reason that there's not as much transparency. Because if we saw who was actually driving this, if there's somebody has that vendetta against him, then it could give the public a better understanding of how quickly they moved and why they haven't had this type of a process where, you know, there's sort of this openness that's necessary.
You know, Roland, I want to make a point about HBCUs. All HBCUs are absolutely not the same. And I come from a state that has a very large, very potent HBCU, Florida A&M University. And like Texas State,
Southern University.
Texas Southern. Florida A&M is a state-sponsored HBCU, which means that the governor appoints the board of directors.
And Florida A&M has had a whole lot of damn drama, but their board of regents fighting with university presidents and firing presidents.
Exactly. So the point that I was trying to get to is that in these situations where the HBCU board is appointed by a governor, then the behavior of the board can often reflect the priorities of that governor. And there can be times where the interests of the governor or the projects of the governor or what the governor wants to get done is at odds with the mission of that institution, which is you always got to be educating our young brothers and sisters to the best degree possible. And what often happens is that these appointments are political bennies. They're a step in getting into good graces with the governor because there's always other appointments that can be made. And so playing along with the agenda of the person in ultimate power, in this case it would be Greg Abbott, that may be a part of what is going on there. Now, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I don't know these people individually. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. But having been through something similar in the state of Florida, where there's been a great deal of conflict between the board of regents and the university leadership, and not only that, but the student population and the alumni population, when you start to see a real disconnect between the two, then you got to be asking yourself, why is the board at odds with the people who are truly passionately supportive of the institution? And when they are at odds, you got to be asking some very serious questions.
Well, and also, again, what jumps out at here is that you take this action and you don't explain to the public exactly why you're doing it. That is what makes no sense as well. And so we're going to be covering this every single day. We're going to continue every single day, or going to call and email these Board of Regents members so they can so they can speak to exactly what's going on, because this is also the kind of stuff that stops the forward momentum of an HBCU.
Absolutely.
This is the kind of stuff that causes people to say, you know what? That's why I'm not going to give, because you're doing sort of the BS along these lines. Right. And again, the TSU Board of Regents has a history. And also, for everybody out there, I need y'all to stop and calm the hell down. This is not Tennessee State. This is Texas Southern University in Houston. And so all you need to stop calling President Glenda Glover at Tennessee State, somehow thinking they talking about her. They ain't talking about her. We're talking about Dr. Austin Lane at Texas Southern University in Houston. And so y'all might just want to just calm down. But again, this is why Board of Regents have to be very careful. And I'll be honest, when I think about other major universities, I can't tell you the last time in Texas I can recall, between University of Houston, University of North Texas, Texas A&M, University of Texas, Texas Tech. I can go down the line, Texas State. I can go to all the universities. I can't remember the last time a Board of Regents made a move against a president and put him on administrative leave.
Right. And then to look at the face of the board, too, to see that the folks that are helping to engineer this, the folks that are really paying the price outside of Dr. Lane and his family are the students. In a time where our students are going to and attending HBCUs as a level of haven because of the current regime that is occupying the White House, for some type of safe space to be able to learn, to have their minds really grown and things of that nature, that then to have this be an interruption into their educational process. But I love what you said, Dr. Ali, as a grassroots person as well, because this also is really kind of like what the fullness of life is, right? That there is that level of interruption, that there is something that does stop the momentum, but you do have to make the decision to also not only get your education, but to also fight for it as well, because if it's not for you, then who's coming behind you? So I'm really glad that you're on top of this story, bringing it to the top of the fold, because I don't know that anyone else is covering it, and really just admonishing the students, the staff, those people that have the hashtag I Stand With Dr. Lane, just to keep that momentum going and continue to force the board to come into account for these actions.
You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.